Señores, hoy vamos a hablar de algo que sinceramente no debería estar pasando en un país que supuestamente es democrático. Donald Trump, el eterno protagonista del caos político, nuevamente está en el centro de la polémica. En esta ocasión no es por lo que dice, sino por lo que acepta y con quién hace negocios. Sean bienvenidos a Políticamente en Desacuerdo. Amigos, hoy veremos cómo varios demócratas se han pronunciado sobre todo este caos corrupto que ha estado envolviendo a Donald Trump. Así que los invito a que se queden hasta el final de este video porque veremos detalles muy, pero muy interesantes. Bueno amigos, resulta que Trump no solo ha estado de muy amiguito con ciertos líderes del Golfo Pérsico, sino que ahora se está beneficiando directamente de estas relaciones. O sea, estamos hablando de jets privados de lujo, negocios con criptomonedas, socios extranjeros que, por decirlo suavemente, tienen intereses muy distintos a los estadounidenses. Seguramente estarás pensando, ¿y eso no es ilegal? Pues ahí está el detalle, amigos. ¿Legal o no? Hay muchas cosas que en este momento huelen a podrido. Pero bueno, iremos por partes. Escuchemos a la senadora Elizabeth Warren.
I should say, Senator, that the president is once again defending his acceptance of this gift. Acceptance almost seems too passive. It's unclear to me that it wasn't actually solicited. You know, it would be crazy. Do you want the taxpayers to pay for it? What exactly is wrong with this in your mind?
Well, as you rightly said, you know, he says he has to accept a gift. The Trojan horse was a gift, as you rightly pointed out. And the idea that he's just going to jump on this plane and fly all around, you know, there are folks in the Defense Department who are pointing out they're going to have to tear that plane apart and go over every nut, every bolt, every screw. We are now told in the Senate that it will cost more to take that plane apart and make sure there aren't tracking devices and listening devices in it, and take longer than it would to build the original plane that they were trying to build. But all that really tells you is it's dumb. But the heart was still willing. What Donald Trump wanted was something that was a big, giant plane for him to fly around in, and let's face it, for him to use personally, and then at the end to give it to his library so he would have it forever and ever. And to me, this is the perfect example of what this Trump administration has become all about. For 2 years, he ran for president saying, on day one, I will lower costs for American families. He gets elected. His first interview, he says, I got elected because I promised to lower costs on day one. About a month later, he gets asked about the tariffs and told that those are going to increase costs for American families. And his quote is that he couldn't care less. So it turns out we've now figured out, maybe 115 days into this administration, that Donald Trump is actually going to make one family better off financially, and that's the Trump family. And everybody else, Donald Trump just couldn't care less.
Yeah, I mean, there's something remarkable about your kid's got to go down to $2 max, maybe 5 pencils. We're just going to take the flying Qatari palace in the air. Don't you worry about it. I mean, within a week of each other, he's saying those two things.
Right. And you know, the thing is about this, it's not just that the Saudis and the Qataris get to play. UAE is in on this as well with the Bitcoin scam. So here's Donald Trump, who announces 3 weeks ago now, he says he's going to do a Bitcoin deal and a stablecoin deal. And here's the stablecoin deal. He's going to go into business with an outfit called Binance. Now, this is an outfit that has been doing stablecoins for a long time. They were forced to plead to criminal money laundering, that is, helping out drug traffickers, and terrorists, and others. They're not permitted to do business in the United States. And their CEO actually went to jail. Remind yourself just how bad it has to be before CEOs get sent to jail for white-collar crime. So these guys end up in jail. Now they are business partners with Donald Trump, while the guy, the former CEO, is allegedly asking for a pardon. What a great way to get up there with Donald Trump, offer to cut him in on the deal. But the UAE says, whoa, we can go better than that. Now that you have this partnership with Binance, here's what we're going to do. We're going to put $2 billion into the partnership, which boosts Donald Trump's fortunes immensely. He makes money off every transaction. He makes money off the money that is deposited and they pay no interest on. Another way for UAE to say, we understand how this works. We have just out in full view of everyone, basically offered Donald Trump a giant gift from a foreign entity in violation of the Constitution, in violation of law, and in violation of what is right in this country.
You know, the sort of the blatantness of all this, I think in a weird way has kind of redounded to his benefit. It's not like someone like, if you discovered a secret message that the Emiratis were wiring him $2 billion to a secret bank account, I think that would be an enormous scandal. Sort of doing it out in the open. But I will say this, I want to show you something that some Republican senators do seem, at the very least, a little uneasy with the flying Qatari palace. I want to play you some of it and get your reaction, see if there's anything there, and they're willing to do anything about it. Take a listen.
I think maybe the thing to do is to say, hey, we appreciate it, but there's a lot of other things you could help us out with.
That doesn't seem to be right, and I think it's not going to pass the smell test.
Well, what I'm concerned is the safety of the president. I mean, Qatar's not, in my opinion, a great ally.
Well, they better sweep that plane from front to back.
And to your point, Senator, I mean, and to Senator Loomis's point, you know, I just want to say that, like, what you said before about it's going to cost a ton of money, like, the thing's going to have to be basically taken apart and put back together again.
Yeah, but remember, these are Republicans who are just very tentatively saying, might not be the greatest deal, rather than saying, whoa, STOP. No, we're not doing this. You're not doing this. President of the United States is not doing this. Is there anybody on God's green earth who thinks that the Qataris are giving a $400 million airplane to Donald Trump without expecting or having already gotten something in return? And keep in mind, this is the question about corruption is the central issue on this stablecoins bill, which right now is being voted on in Congress. And all but one senators on the Republican side said they are all in. They don't want any curbs that would prevent the President of the United States making what appears to be somewhere between hundreds of millions of dollars and billions of dollars off his stablecoin undertakings from, again, God only knows who. We know two of the actors, the felon and the UAE, the Emirates. But who else is playing in this game, and what favors are they getting from Donald Trump in return for the money that they are putting into these stablecoins? And yet, so far, every Republican senator, save one, has said it's okay with them.
Ok, amigos, ahora hablemos claro. Lo que acabamos de escuchar no solo es una curiosidad geopolítica. Hablamos de un escándalo monumental, uno que en este momento debería de estar en todos los titulares. Donald Trump está entrando, por ejemplo, en un negocio de stablecoins, ¿no? Una forma de criptomoneda, con una empresa que fue acusada de lavado de dinero y que tiene vínculos con el crimen organizado. ¿Quién está detrás apoyando financieramente este proyecto? Nada más y nada menos que los Emiratos Árabes Unidos, con una inversión inicial de $2.000 millones. Ahora pensemos por un segundo. ¿Por qué un país extranjero invertiría esta cantidad de dinero en un proyecto liderado por un presidente? No es por caridad, no es porque crean en su visión económica, es porque quieren algo a cambio, quieren o influencia, o acceso, o favores políticos futuros. Entonces aquí es donde se pone peligroso porque Trump podría estar volviendo a la Casa Blanca, ¿no? un negocio, tal cual. ¿Qué pasa si el tipo que está cobrando millones de aliados extranjeros es el jefe del Estado? La política exterior de Estados Unidos, amigos, podría estar literalmente en venta. Algunos seguramente dirán, bueno, pero otros políticos también han hecho negocios turbios. Y puede ser, no lo voy a negar. Pero lo de Trump es diferente, porque es tan descarado, es tan público, que ya ni siquiera necesita esconderlo. Lo hace frente a tus narices. Y como lo está normalizando, muchos simplemente miran a otro lado. Miren, yo no sé ustedes, pero yo creo que esto no puede ser una nueva normalidad. Un presidente no debería estar recibiendo jets de lujo, no debería estar involucrándose con empresas que están manchadas de corrupción internacionalmente, y mucho menos cuando podría, pues, prácticamente, amigos, se supone que Trump quiere levantar a Estados Unidos, ¿no? No es un tema ético, es un tema de seguridad nacional. Y si eso no se detiene, señores, estamos dejando la puerta abierta para que los próximos líderes hagan lo mismo. La senadora Elizabeth Warren no es la única que ha tocado este tema recientemente. También vimos al senador Adam Schiff. Pues bueno, no se contuvo, ¿no? Y él está pidiendo exactamente respuestas sobre este regalito de Qatar a Trump, este avión de lujo, al Departamento de Defensa. Escuchemos esta noticia.
Senator, it's good to see you. You just in the last couple of hours, literally, I mean, this story just came out. You asked the Inspector General at the Defense Department to investigate DOD's role in facilitating this outrageous gift. You're asking them a lot of interesting questions, information you want. Walk us through what you're requesting from them and what you hope that they will turn up through this process.
Well, this acquisition of this $400 million plane really stinks to high heaven. Everything is wrong about this deal. And apparently, even if you accept the administration's own account of this, it was offered directly to the Trump Foundation. They checked with their own counsel, and that would be illegal. It would violate the Emoluments Clause, be unconstitutional. So basically, they decided to launder it through the Defense Department to see if they could use the Defense Department, the Air Force, as an intermediary and launder this deal to see if they could somehow make something unlawful, unconstitutional, now somehow copacetic. But it does nothing of the sort. It simply embroils the Defense Department in this scheme. And one of the things that, I'm demanding to know from the DOD, and we'll find out these answers, whether we get it from the DOD or other sources, that is, what is it going to cost to retrofit this thing? How long is it going to take? And if this plane isn't going to be ready for 2 or 3 years until Trump is basically on the way out the door, basically what this is all about is getting a $400 million aircraft for Donald Trump when he leaves the presidency. That's really what this is about. And I was struck in listening to your opening discussion about the fact that not only is this the first major trip of Donald Trump during his presidency, it was the first major trip of Donald Trump during the first Trump administration. And why go to the Gulf in both cases? Why make that your first presidential major visit? It's a little bit like that famous bank robber said when he was asked, why do you rob banks? Because that's where the money is. Donald Trump is going to the Gulf, not because it's the most important region for the United States of America, but because that's where the money is, and that's where the money is for Trump and his family. It's where the Gulf deals are. It's where the stablecoin deals are. It's where, the enrichment of the family is. And meanwhile, the rest of the country is left in the lurch. We're paying more for our airfare. We're paying more for our baggage fees. But Donald Trump doesn't like having to ride around in Air Force One because the plane is getting too old for him. He wants this palace in the sky.
He seems emboldened, I think it's safe to say. Not exactly an outrageous thing to say. I mean, he did some of this in his first term, certainly plenty of it. But I've been thinking about this Supreme Court ruling on immunity and how much it may have emboldened him. And I know you think about this a lot. You and I have talked about this a lot and what it could prompt. Do you think that that ruling has prompted him to be even more brazen in the second term?
Ok, amigos, primero, ¿en qué momento se volvió normal que un presidente quiera un regalo de salida? O sea, como si fuese una cesta navideña del trabajo. O sea, estamos hablando de un avión de 400 millones de dólares. Y supuestamente, ¿no?, iba a ser ofrecido a la fundación de Trump, pero cuando los abogados dijeron que eso sería inconstitucional, ¡vuela! Surge la brillante idea de canalizarlo a través del Departamento de Defensa. No solo es una movida poco cuestionable, yo creo que es el mejor ejemplo de cómo el poder puede ser utilizado para beneficio personal, cuando no existen consecuencias claras. O sea, aquí no estamos hablando de diferencias ideológicas, estamos hablando de corrupción con uniforme militar de por medio. El senador Schiff lo dice muy claro, ¿no? Si el avión no estará listo hasta dentro de 2 o 3 años, justo cuando Trump dejaría el poder, entonces no es para un uso como presidente, es un regalo de despedida. ¿Y quién lo paga? Los contribuyentes. Ahora, seguro alguien saldrá a decirlo, ¿no? ¿Y qué? Todos los presidentes reciben privilegios. Claro, tienen pensiones, protección del servicio secreto, oficinas, pero jets privados financiados por contratos turbios con gobiernos extranjeros. Yo creo que aquí existe una diferencia enorme, ¿no?, entre lo que es un privilegio institucional y un acto descarado de autopremiación. Eso también nos lleva a otro punto clave, tal y como lo menciona Schiff, el rol del fallo reciente en la Corte Suprema, ¿no?, sobre la inmunidad presidencial. Amigos, este fallo puede haberle dado a Trump prácticamente no solo una carta blanca, sino una alfombra roja para poder actuar sin consecuencias. Y eso es muy, pero muy peligroso. Tan solo imaginen lo que puede hacer alguien con tanto poder, sin miedo a repercusiones legales o cualquier otro tipo de juicio, y con aliados dispuestos a normalizar lo anormal. Eso, amigos, es la pregunta que se tienen que hacer. Y bueno, amigos, pasemos al siguiente tema, porque no todo es corrupción con Trump. Estamos ante una propuesta política, señores, que puede cambiar la vida. Y para mal. Hablamos de millones de estadounidenses afectados. Y no, señores, no es una exageración. Hablamos de este plan republicano que propone recortes brutales en salud y alimentos, mientras al parecer le hace ojitos fiscales a los ultrarricos. Escuchemos esta noticia.
This morning, the House Energy and Commerce Committee continues its marathon session on proposed Medicaid cuts that will be included in the Republican Party's sweeping domestic policy bill. Let's bring in House Minority Leader, Democratic Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York. It's good to have you on, sir. Tell us about those cuts. How will Americans be feeling them?
Well, good morning. House Democrats are working hard through the night, both on the Energy and Commerce Committee and the Ways and Means Committee, to push back against this GOP tax scam, where they are trying to enact the largest Medicaid cut in American history, north of $700 billion. And independent observers have confirmed that if the Republicans are successful in passing this GOP tax scam, then approximately 14 million people will actually lose their health coverage. Hospitals will close, nursing homes will shut down. This really is a matter of life and death, and it's all being done to try to enact massive tax cuts for MAGA billionaire donors like Elon Musk. It's shameful.
Leader Jeffries, I'm also looking at deep into this bill at proposed cuts to SNAP. That's food assistance for people across the country, red states, blue states, white, black, Latino, you name it. $300 billion cuts proposed. What would be the impact of that?
Republicans are literally ripping food out of the mouths of children and seniors and veterans. About 20% of the households that have veterans living in them right now rely upon SNAP. And in addition to trying to jam this massive cut to health care down the throats of the American people, this would be the largest cut to nutritional assistance in the history of the United States of America. And so Republicans are really pushing an extreme agenda at this point in time, directed by Donald Trump. And unfortunately, what we've seen is that Republicans in the Congress continue to simply be a rubber stamp as opposed to standing up for the best interests of their constituents.
Leader Jeffries, there's so much going on around the country and so much news coming out of this administration that perhaps this bill is not getting the attention you may feel it deserves. I know there were protesters and some people were arrested up on Capitol Hill this week. How can you make Democrats and Republicans who could lose in red states and rural areas as well from this bill, how can you make them more aware and get their voices heard so that changes could be made to the bill?
Well, these cuts are deeply unpopular across the country, and we're seeing that in district after district after district. One of the reasons why Republican House leaders have told their members to stop holding town hall meetings is because the American people in blue states and swing states and red states have been showing up protesting these proposed cuts to their health care, these proposed cuts to their nutritional assistance, the efforts to hurt veterans. And so we just have to keep the pressure on. We're in a more is more environment. We're doing town hall meetings in our districts and town hall meetings in Republican districts. Rallies and speeches and demonstrations and sit-ins will continue to elevate for the American people the stakes of this battle.
Amigos, 14 millones de personas sin cobertura médica. Es que hay que decirlo claro, ¿no? Estamos ante un recorte histórico, no solo por el monto, sino por la consecuencia humana que implica. Lo más grave, se podría decir, es el propósito detrás de todo esto, porque, según explica Jeffries, la motivación no es el déficit, tampoco es la eficiencia del gasto, nada por el estilo. No, lo hacen para financiar recortes de impuestos a los megas ricos. O sea, que si tú necesitas ir al médico, mala suerte. Pero si Elon Musk quiere otra rebajada de impuestos, ahí sí hay dinero. Y ojo amigos, esto no es nuevo. Este tipo de propuestas se vienen repitiendo ya desde hace años. Recortes sociales disfrazados de responsabilidad fiscal, pero que en la práctica pues benefician a quienes menos lo necesitan. Y bueno, seguramente alguien dice, es que el sistema de salud está sobredimensionado, ¿no? Porque es una de las excusas que muchos han tomado. Hay que hacer ajustes. El tema de ajustes es aceptable, ¿no? Claro, podríamos debatir la eficiencia del sistema, como en muchos otros programas o agencias. Pero una cosa es mejorar tu gestión. Otra es recortar al punto de dejar a millones sin acceso básico a salud. O sea, lo que se está planteando aquí, amigos, es podar con machete, sin anestesia y con consecuencias devastadoras. Lo que está en juego es real salud, comida, dignidad humana. Todo para que los multimillonarios paguen menos impuestos. Y bueno, si eso no te enoja, al menos debería hacerte pensar. Pero bueno amigos, yo ya les dije qué pienso. Ahora le toca a ustedes. ¿Qué piensan sobre estos recortes? ¿Creen que tienen un tipo de justificación? ¿O piensan como yo que esto simplemente es un ataque a los más vulnerables? Los invito a que me dejen sus opiniones en la caja de comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme hasta el final de este video. Como siempre recuerda dejarme tu like, compartirlo con tus amigos y suscribirte a nuestro canal Políticamente en Desacuerdo. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.